Hey kids, Merry Christmas. Thanks for hanging out with me for a couple minutes. Today we're going to put together a manger scene and kind of retell the story of the manger scene. And so one of the things that you want to do is maybe go and get your manger scene from your house if you have one, or you can just follow along the story if you don't have one. But go and get your manger scene and set it up, and then take all of the characters out of the manger scene. And if you've got other kids in your family, make sure everybody has some of the characters. And we'll begin to refill that manger scene and see if we can tell the story of what this big night is all about. Okay? So pause the video and get that all set up, and then meet me back here. All right, are you back? One of the great things that our family always loved to do on Christmas time is we loved when a new movie would come out at Christmas time and we could go see that movie and meet all of the new characters and see what the story would be like and all of the new twists and turns in the story. In fact, we would go to the theater and it turns out we weren't the only ones there, right? Everybody set aside everything and went to the movie theater to see where the movie might lead them, who they would meet, what surprises were there. And that's the way stories are, right? We all love a good story. We all love to go to the movies. You have some favorite movies too. Maybe you like Toy Story or one of the other great movies that Disney puts out or Pixar puts out. And those stories capture your imagination. You want to go see them. And you always learn something or discover something about yourself or maybe even the world when you see a good movie or hear a great story. Well, there's some stories that have been around for a long, long time, and this happens to be one of them. Some stories we keep dropping everything and coming and retelling every year in order to understand the story more deeply. Tonight, I'm going to talk to you about the manger scene. And as you know, there's plenty of characters in the manger scene, but it revolves around one main character, and you probably know who that character is. It's not somebody that's super important. It's not a hero in the story. It's not anybody who has like super powerful magical skills. It's not something who's wealthy or powerful or a king. It's just a regular baby. It's a story that starts off with a little baby, and that baby happens to be sleeping in a manger. So if you will find your baby, let's put our baby in the manger, because that ends up being the main character of the story. Just a simple baby asleep in the hay. You know babies, right? Maybe you've even held a baby before. Babies don't have a lot to say. They're probably not even thinking about a whole lot. They just like to be here, right? They just love to be held. They look with their big eyes and explore the world around them. They try to make noises and express themselves. They love it when they get something to eat or they're held or comforted. They love being a part of a family, don't they? That's what babies do. Babies rest in the arms of others. You too were a baby once. Even me, in my old age, I too was a baby once. We all start out that way. We all have a little baby still maybe inside of us somewhere. And that's where this story begins, with no one in particular, but a baby born in the world one night long ago. So what's so important about this child or this baby who is born? Well, it's about kind of who shows up to be with the child or with the baby. For sure we know that there is a Mary and there is a Joseph. And so maybe you can find your Mary and Joseph figures and put them in the manger as well. Here's my Joseph. He'll sit here next to the baby, and you find yours. And then here's Mary, the mother, and she too is in the story. So we know from the get-go that the story is about a little baby being part of a family, right? Of two people who care for that child so much. You have a family too, don't you? You look around your house, you can see signs of your family everywhere. It turns out that you're not just all by yourself in the world, but rather you rest inside people's lives who love you. And that's part of the great wonder of this story, is that all of us rest inside of the lives of people who love us. In this case, it's Mary and Joseph. In your case, it's whoever cares for you each and every day. You rest inside of their lives as well. They are part of your family. And yet this story doesn't end there. See if you can find the animals and begin to fill the animals in your manger scene as well. I've got a cow. I don't know what you have. A couple of sheep that I'm going to set up in here. I got another sheep with plenty of sheep. I got another. Here's a big cattle. You heard the cattle are lowing. Let's get the cattle so you can see the cattle. There, that's a little bit better. The animals show up. What are they doing in the story? Well, it turns out that all of nature is a part of this big story as well. All of the animals and really the plants and the earth and the soil, it's almost like nature shows up and says, we're going to hold you too. That what it means to be a child of the world, to be born to the world, is to be held not only by those who love you in your little family, but that you're part of a big natural world as well that holds you just like a family does, and that you rest in its care. On this night when this baby is born, these characters show up to remind us that the world holds us too. All of the plants and all of the animals that surround you and me, they're part of the big family that holds us as well. And yet, the story doesn't end there. See if you can find some of the shepherds. And shepherds are tough, because in our family we have shepherds that are carrying sheep, and they always fall over in the manger scene. And here's a little girl and a boy shepherd that will join us for this story. Shepherds were kind of unique, and they're unique to this story as well. Shepherds didn't have the best jobs in the world. In fact, in some ways they were kind of invisible. You didn't really see them. They worked late at night when everybody else was sleeping. They watched sheep, and so no one really saw what they were doing all night long. And then they went to bed probably in the morning and slept throughout the day. These were people who were kind of invisible to us, and yet they're the ones who saw in the night sky that something was happening, and so they showed up on the scene. These are people that this baby didn't know, and yet this baby is held in a relationship with them as well. That's an important thing to remember. There's a lot of people in your life, too, that support you that you don't even know about, right? The UPS driver who shows up every day, seems like, is a part of your story and holds and takes care of your family. And so does the garbage truck driver, and so do the school teachers and people who live in other parts of the world. In fact, there's people in other parts of the world that probably made the computer that you're watching this on right now. Your life rests in relationship to all of them as well. They're a part of your big family. And so you don't just live in a little household with those who love you, or in the natural world that supports and sustains you, but you also live in relationship to people all over the world, people you don't even know. People are sort of hidden from you. They too are a part of your big family, and they're part of this great story as well. And yet it doesn't end there. There's more, believe it or not. See if you can find the angels, which I'm going to hang my little angel right from this little, see if I can hang my angel up here. Oh, hang on there, angel. Angel, and if you have wise magi, they're called. Sometimes we call them the wise ones, or magicians from the east. They too show up in the story. And they too play an interesting role. I have one on a camel that I'll bring in. They too play an interesting role in the story, right? These are people, both the angels and the magi from the east, the wise men, sometimes we call them, are people who watch the stars, or angels actually live in the stars. And it turns out that these who pay attention to the stars saw this birth as well and came to be present for it. They're to remind us that the whole of the cosmos, the stars, the moon, the galaxies, the Milky Way, all of the great mystery of the big, big universe holds us as well. We're a part of that big family as well. So what does it mean to be born into this world? in some ways, this story is a reminder that for those who love you right in your own home, for those who you've never met, for the animals and the birds and all of nature, for the cosmos and the heavens, ultimately, we're all one big, beautiful family. And if we can learn to live like that, then love begins to blossom. Then there is joy in the world. And that's one of the reasons why on this night we sing that great song, Joy to the World. So tonight, when you get your little manger scene ready, remember that maybe you have a role to play in this manger scene too. You too are the baby born in the manger, held by so many. You too rest in the embrace of all that is. And when that happens, we feel and can live out this great gift of love that holds us all together. Every time you look at your manger scene, I want you to try to remember at least this one lesson from the story of a baby born in a manger a long time ago. All right? So enjoy your manger scene and setting it up, and happy holidays to you and your family.